Shell Advance Asia Talent Cup, round 2 of the championship from the Lusail International Circuit here in Qatar. You're just looking back here on some highlights of round 1 that took place at the Chang International Circuit just a couple of weeks ago following the World Superbike Championship. This is a series for bikes that are NSF 250Rs, Hondas, and for a platform basically for the best upcoming talent of Asia and Australasia. Alberto Puig and Hiroshi Arma helping out. You're watching here young rider Somkit Chantra, number 18, a Thai rider himself. Had a spectacular weekend at his home circuit. Just behind him there, number 2, Kazuki Masaki. Both of those riders in this championship last year. Now, as you can see, all of the riders on exactly the same bikes. The only thing that separates them, is, you know, that we can tell is the numbers. They all have pretty much identical helmets as well. So you will have to bear with us. Steve Day here alongside Matt Burt. And these are the highlights from the Chang International Circuit, as one or two riders having a moment on circuit. Somkit Chantra, number 18, actually left the round level on points with A. Agora. This was his win, though, in front of a massive crowd at the Chang International Circuit. Further back, Kazuki Masaki getting himself some decent points overall. He ended up finishing race 1 in 5th place, and the same again in race 2 as well, as the checkered flag came out. Somkit Chantra was the winner. So here we are, the Shell Advance Asia Talent Cup from Lusail. Steve Day alongside Matt Burt. Perfect opportunity here for riders aged between 13 and 21 to get themselves onto the scene. And of course, they follow the World Superbike Championship and the MotoGP World Championship. There's a couple of 12-year-olds out there as well, but they'll turn 13 this season, so that's the reason why they have the dispensation. They, just to keep you updated, it is a 6-round championship. They've been at Chang International Circuit following the World Superbike Series back in March. We're here now, of course, the end of March in Lusail. Next round for these guys will be Sepang. That's World Superbikes 13th to 15th of May. Then 16th to 18th September, they will go to Zhuhai in China. That's for the Pan Delta Championship. Then they will rejoin the MotoGP paddock in October, of course, for the flyaways, Motegi and Sepang. On pole position is Somkit Chantra, a rider that you had the opportunity of commentating on last year as well, Matt.
Yeah, he had an excellent ride here last year at the Lusail International Circuit. Steve did Somkit Chantra, 2nd and 3rd in the 2 races that took part ahead of the opening round of the MotoGP World Championship, and he comes into this race, Steve, in great form. Took pole position by quite some margin, almost 7.5 tenths quicker than Andy Izdihar, who we're getting a quick look at now. 2nd on the grid, middle of the front row, ahead of Kazuki Masaki, Andy Izdihar.
Andy Izdihar, 18-year-old, who's 8th in the championship after Thailand. He got himself on pole position. Didn't finish race 1 though, only finished race 2, but he was on the podium. He was 9th overall in the 2015 season. Now then, here you see 3rd on the grid, Kazuki Masaki, a 15-year-old. Had 5 podiums and a couple of race wins last year, Motegi and Sepang, so very capable indeed.
Yeah, a couple of top 6 finishes here for Kazuki Masaki. Andy Izdihar in the middle of that front row of the grid, actually, number 23. He won the 2nd race here 1 year ago, so he's got winning pedigree around this Qatar circuit. 4th on the grid, Ryusai Yamanaka, the Japanese rider. 1.2 seconds back of pole position, though, so quite a big deficit for him to make up. Interesting how these riders are going to cope with some quite different conditions here this early afternoon, Steve. It's quite a lot warmer today in Doha, and there's certainly quite a lot windy. There's a headwind blowing down the start-finish rate, almost 25 kilometres an hour, so quite different conditions for these younger riders to have to contend with.
Yeah, it's also it's quite different conditions for some of us in the commentary box as well, because it's I have to admit personally, it's some time ago since I actually commentated on a race in Qatar in the daylight. It just seems rather odd not to be commentating on a race under the night lights. But yes, this is a fantastic opportunity. Here's Jerry Salim. Jerry was in the championship last season as well, sporting the number 4 plate, 18-year-old, so one of the older riders in the championship. Very consistent last year, but just wasn't always on the top step. By the way, just to keep you updated, this championship has been going since 2014. Kaito Toba, Japanese rider, was the original winner. Ayumu Sasaki last year, incredible young talent. I get the feeling, as we see another young Japanese rider here, Kawasaki, that Ayumu Sasaki, if he was old enough, he'd be in the Moto3 World Championship already. He made his debut at the end of last year after winning this championship in the CEV Repsol Moto3 Junior Worlds, and got himself on the podium on his debut. Look out for him this season. He will be contesting in the Red Bull Rookies again and in the CEV Championship full-time when Ayumu Sasaki makes his way into this championship, and it will be soon. Look out for him. And I'll tell you how good he is. Mr. Nakamoto was present in Parc Ferme at the CEV round when he came in there, so all eyes on him for the future.
One of the Japanese newcomers into the championship this year, Riku Sugawara, qualified down at the back of the 3rd row of the grid with a best lap of 2:14.406. We just caught a quick glimpse of another one of the newcomers in the championship, 8th on the grid, one of the Thai riders, Warapad Niam Sakan. Interesting to see what he can do here today.
Saw Adam Norridin down in the Asia Talent Cup tent earlier on. Of course, a rider that's currently contesting in his first season of Moto3 World Championship, and a rider that spent a couple of seasons in the Asia Talent Cup, so going down there to obviously say hello to a few of his mates.
Well, and he's the perfect example and the perfect motivation for these young riders, Steve. You know, it shows what you can do if you shine in this Asia Talent Cup. There are Grand Prix team bosses keeping a very close eye on these young men. Adam Norridin, a great example that if you can show some potential and some speed in this championship, there are opportunities for you to move into the Grand Prix paddock.
And there are a number of Japanese riders in this championship, and that's good news for them as well, because they've been struggling of late, haven't they, to bring through that Japanese talent into world level. I mean, there was a period, of course, a few decades ago where the championship was absolutely packed full of Japanese riders, but it's sort of flipped around a bit, so this is great news for them.
Yeah, it was an amazing stat last year when Tatsuki Suzuki scored points. I think it was at Silverstone in the British Grand Prix. He was the first Japanese rider in the history of the Moto3 World Championship to score points. And like you say, Steve, it was only about 15, 20 years ago where the smaller classes were flooded with Japanese talent. So the warm-up lap underway then.
Just a couple of names to point you to as well. A couple of riders out there, twins, Turkish duo, Can Onchu, number 3, and Deniz Onchu, number 7. Young Turkish twins. And another Turkish name that will certainly be familiar to viewers is that of Bahattin Sofoglu, number 14, qualified in 17th place. Now he is the younger cousin of a Kenan Sofoglu that, of course, you will all be aware of. He is just 12 years old, tiny little rider. Didn't get any points in Thailand, unfortunately fell in the first race, finished 17th in the second, but it just goes to show you that there are a few talented riders coming up through Turkey as well. Of course, Kenan being the most notable rider from Turkey. Toprak Razgatlioglu coming through very nicely, and now 3 more in the Asia Talent Cup.
Yeah, keep a close eye as well on number 13, Idam Khairuddin. Of course, fans of Grand Prix racing will know his brother very well, Fahmi Khairuddin, of course, now plying his trade in the World Supersport Championship, but a former podium finisher in Moto3. Qualified down in 16th place did Idam Khairuddin, 15-year-old from Malaysia. A couple of points scoring finishes in that opening round in Thailand. 17th overall last year was Khairuddin, so he'll be looking to make some significant progress up the order in his second full season.
Sankit Chantra, who is on pole position, the Thai rider, 17-year-old. Last year, as you mentioned, came in with a bang. First 2 rounds, he was up there all the time. Unfortunately, injured himself training over in Thailand, missed the rest of the season. But either way, he's one of the pre-season favourites for this. Did very well at Chang in round 1. He looked very quick in qualifying, Matt. you know, we're used to seeing Asia Talent Cup races, cigarette papers splitting 5 or 6 of them, but it doesn't look like that's the case here at the moment. Yeah,
Somkiat Chantra, only Andy Izdihar and Kazuki Masaki, who qualified on the front row, were within 1 second of Somkiat Chantra, and he scored that dominant second race victory on home soil in Thailand a couple of weeks ago. Very strange, very rare that we see races like that, as you quite rightly point out, Steve. Worth mentioning as well, the 2 races we had here 1 year ago were incredibly tight battles. Race 1, the top 6 covered by just 0.4 of a second. It was a repeat in race 2, so hopefully we'll see another good exciting battle. Chantra, I'm sure, of course, would like to replicate his dominant win in Thailand, but the fans gathered here in Qatar will be hoping to see something a bit closer.
But it's quite a marathon here at Qatar. There's 14 laps for these riders, bearing in mind pole position was 2:12. The main aim for the rest of the pack at the moment is going to be to try and show a front wheel to Somkiat Chantra and not let him get away. We've seen in Moto3 before, slipstream can make such a huge difference around this circuit, and if they can beat him up early on, then you never know, we might be in for a nail-biter. Here we go then, green flag waving at the back means the lights are ready to go. Look in the top left corner, the Shell Advance Asia Talent Cup is just about ready to go, away from the line. Not a brilliant start from Somkiat Chantra, actually. Struggled a bit. Andy Izdihar, on the other hand, number 23, certainly got the better of it, and immediately Somkiat Chantra has to get into his slipstream. They head into turn 1, and it looks like it's going to be number 23, Andy Izdihar. Good start, Matt.
Yeah, Andy Izdihar got a flyer off the middle of the front row of the grid. Yeah, Somkiat Chantra just caught napping a bit as the lights went out. Number 18's made a really good start as well, but it is Izdihar that leads the way, coming out of turn number 3.
Around we go then, flat out for these little bikes as they now head up towards turn 4, and Chantra there already going into the lead, and moving up into second place there is Ai Agura, so number 23 there. Andy Izdihar's just lost 2 places in 1 corner.
Yeah, Ai Agura, aggressive first 2 or 3 corners from the young Japanese rider. He started in 5th place. Of course, Chantra and Agura, the 2 race winners at round 1. It's getting a bit feisty a little bit further back down the field. Of course, a lot of these riders not got a lot of race experience, so they're just going to be finding their feet a little bit. Now, Chantra, as Steve quite rightly pointed out, the riders really needed to try and get ahead of him early on to break up his rhythm. Can Chantra, with clear Chak in front of him on the opening lap, start to break away, just as he did in race 2 in Thailand?
But he's only been ahead for a couple of corners, and already he's building himself 1 or 2 or 3 tenths of a second lead. They're really going to have to try and work together. Unfortunately, that's not something that we tended to see a lot of last season. Riders don't really work together in this championship. They're constantly trying to chop each other up into corners. We see another overtaking manoeuvre there. So Chantra it is that leads. Izdihar possibly now, yeah, still in 3rd place. 0.4 of a second. The gap already then for Chantra, and a bit of a front-end moment there for number 9, Ai Agura, so the lead will extend further.
Yeah, Jerry Salim's had a good first lap as well on the number 4 there, just behind this leading group. He was 6 on the grid. He's already picked up a couple of spots. It's Kazuki Masaki on the number 2 bike. He's dropped back down into 5th place. But it's all about now this slipstream down the straight. Now, Somkiat Chantra, let's check his advantage as they come to complete this first lap. You can see there Chantra on the far left-hand side of the track, desperately trying to break up any possible slipstream. He crosses the line with a lead over Ai Agura of close to 0.7 of a second.
Interesting line that from Somkiat Chantra. There's a theory for some riders that they believe they get more of a draft and they can get a few extra kilometres an hour by hugging the pit wall, but I'm not sure exactly whether that would work. He's certainly managed to avoid anyone getting anywhere near him in terms of slipstream. The only Australasian rider, by the way, out on circuit is Tom Edwards, who's currently in 9th place, the young Aussie. Sporting the number 8 from Wellington in New South Wales, so we'll keep an eye on him as well. He's just got into the top 10.
Yeah, and Andy Izdihar there, number 23. He's just made a move on Ai Agura, so Izdihar up into 2nd place. Agura looking to retaliate immediately, not close enough. Izdihar will be wary of Chantra. He knows that if he can get away, he can run a fast and consistent pace. So Izdihar just keen to get by Agura as quickly as he possibly could. Chantra, the lead's been reduced now to Well, actually, Chantra it was cut through the first split, and he's just extended it now, close to 7/10. Oh, big moment for Chantra, and he's off the track.
No, and he had to really sit that one up because he was on that artificial grass, and we've seen from the qualifying and practice that we've seen so far from the World Championship that can be lethal. So he did well to stay upright and not try and pull back on circuit straight away. And there's a faller already. We can't see the number, and I'm afraid with chances of me being able to tell you who it is. Oh, is it Tom Edwards?
Tom Edwards, yeah.
Oh.
Well, he was going really well. You just mentioned him, Steve, up from 12th inside the top 10. But it looks like it is race over for the young Australian.
Oh dear, yeah, and he just got complete. There was nothing to do with him. It was not his fault at all. He got completely wiped out of the race there. That was unfortunate for Tom.
Yeah, that looked like it might have been Riku Sugawara, the Japanese rider. But we saw, you pointed out on the first lap, Steve, Chantra had a big moment on the front end, and that was a moment on the rear, so he was really pushing to try and make that break.
Again, just did it again there.
Yeah.
Really struggling.
He's a bit erratic, isn't he, at the moment, Chantra?
And they're all clipping the grass here. Not the grippiest of stuff, that. Here comes Chantra, though. Got loads of slipstream onto the start-finish straight. I don't know how that's quite happened. The three of them are now coming into turn one. Who's going to get it? Ayagura, it looks like. Number 9, who will go into turn one just ahead. But Somkhet Chantra then not having things his own way. And there's a second group of riders now that are coming into play. And they're being led by number 12, Ryuso Yamanaka.
Yeah, Yamanaka has just put in the best lap of the race so far.
These youngsters are brilliant to watch, aren't they? They just don't care. Absolutely.
It's a free-for-all, isn't it?
It really is. And there goes Chantra back up into the lead then. Let's see if he could do it again. He certainly will want to try and break away from it because he'll have seen so often before. It's easy to make one mistake and fall all the way back to 6th or 7th place. He leads then now from number 9, Ayagura.
And he'll be wary of the fact that Agura is one of the smallest and lightest riders in the class, so he'd be really strong in the slipstream. Here we go. Yeah, just got in a little bit too hot, didn't he there? Did Chantra, has a look to his right. That was the second big mistake that he made in the first couple of laps. He's back into 3rd place ahead of Jerry Salim. But it looks like now we've got a breakaway lead group of 6 with Kuni, the Japanese rider, desperately trying to hang in there back in 7th place. He's just 1.3 seconds back of this battle of the 6 riders at the front, from Agura down to Yamanaka.
So here is number 9, Ayagura, 15-year-old. He qualified 5th back in Thailand. Managed to win the first race, finished 4th in the second race, and came here to Qatar, level on points with the rider that's just behind him and had to sit up there. Bit of a naughty move there. It was almost like Ayagura just shut the throttle off mid-corner, and that really did cost the rest of the pack. They all bunch up.
Yeah, Chantra, it was a big shake of the head from the Thai rider. He was not happy about that. Then coming into the final corner to complete this 3rd lap, and it will be Agura that comes out of the final corner leading the race, but with the slipstream, will he get blown away as they come down the straight? So Agura from Chantra. Izdihar looking menacing there in 3rd place on bike number 23.
Keep an eye out for number 4, Jerry Salim, the Indonesian rider, at the back now coming through. He was just in 6th place a minute ago, and look at the slipstream he's got. He's trying to go up into 2nd place, but no, he's going to have to settle for 4th. But he was always in the top groups last year and had excellent racecraft. He was one of a few riders that never really did anything too silly, number 4, and he's now moved up into 3rd place.
Yeah, you can just see the impact of the slipstream. Agura came out of the final corner in the lead. He's now been pushed back down to 4th place. It's number 12, Yamanaka, the man who had set the fastest lap of the race on the previous lap, that now hits the front of this race on lap number 4. Yamanaka qualified in 4th place, and he's hit the front for the first time.
Good riding this then from Yamanaka, number 12, just 14. He entered this championship last year, but was a real rookie and just struggled really. But another year older, another year wiser, bit of experience now with the bike as well. Just a fantastic championship this, to be able to lift these Asian and Australasian riders in. It's not always easy for some of the riders to get themselves across to Europe and get the funding to ride. There's quite a lengthy qualifying process to pick the riders that enter this championship. I think there's something like 200 riders that are whittled down to around about 20, 25. So you really have got to be pretty good to get in here.
Yamanaka clearly building on that confidence that he got from the double podium finish in Thailand at the opening round. He's still leading, coming up to the final stages of this fourth lap. It's Masaki piling on the pressure. The Japanese top three at the moment, Yamanaka, Masaki and Agura. Chantra's been pushed back down into fourth place. Izdihar and Salim complete this lead group of 6. Cooney, the Japanese rider on bike number 5, just can't get onto the back of this group. A couple of seconds now splitting him, and he's coming under a bit of pressure from number 15, Kawasaki, who's 0.3 of a second quicker on that previous lap. Lap number 4 then about to be completed.
The only encouraging thing for the likes of Cooney, Kawasaki and Adrian Siar just behind is the fact that if this lot keep on tripping each other up at the front, they'll be able to see this is the leading bunch. That will give them some encouragement, because they know that they're going to lose time. They can't get optimum laps in because there's just so many lead changes going on. And now Kazuki Masaki it is that leads from Ayagura and Yamanaka. So Yamanaka's been pumped down to 3rd place. Still a Japanese top 3 so far. In 4th place, Somkit Chantra, number 18, and then the 2 Indonesians further behind, Salim and Izdihar.
Yeah, Masaki was perhaps a little bit of a surprise to be off the podium in both races in Thailand. He would have been one of the pre-season favourites coming in with a lot of experience. Masaki, 3rd in the championship last year. There he is, just ahead of Ayaguru. Yamanaka thought about a move up the inside of Agura there, thought better of it. Here was the start. And it was the man from the middle of the front row of the grid, number 23, Andy Izdihar, that got the best run off the line.
Such a long stretch as well, isn't it, to turn 1 for these youngsters. It was a very good start, and last of the late breakers there, Izdihar to get himself out front. At the moment, it is Masaki that leads this one. And a couple of tenths actually over Agura. That's not too, in fact, it doesn't look like a couple of tenths to me actually on screen, but Ayagura just up behind, then Yamanaka, Chantra, Izdihar and Salim. Kawasaki in 7th place ahead of Cooney. So there's a bit of a change there.
He's got race-winning pedigree in this Talent Cup, has Masaki. Came on really strong at the end of last year. A couple of wins, one in at the Twin Ring Motegi, the Japanese Grand Prix support program, and then in the Sepang International Circuit in Malaysia. He also took another victory there as Agura closes that gap in the slipstream now. Chantra looking pretty settled in 4th place.
Here we go then, number 2, across the line, Masaki. Few of the riders stretching themselves out. We've got 4 abreast here heading down into turn 1, and Ayagura it is that now takes the lead. Somkit Chantra thought about a nibble on 2nd place as well, but settles back into 3rd place. Agura it is that leads the race. We've had different leaders coming into turn 1 and 2, I think, for the last 4 or 5 laps, which just tells you that this is probably going to go all the way to the line.
Yeah, he's such a pocket rocket, Agura, in the slipstream. So light, so small, so aerodynamic. He's coming under pressure, though, immediately from Masaki. Number 4 is Jerry Salim, thought about a move up the inside of Izdihar. Chantra then back up inside the top 3. And he set a personal best lap on that previous lap, 2:14.081. So the pace settled now down into those low 2:14s. So they're quite some way off Chantra's pole time. In fact, a couple of seconds off the pole time. You do feel that with those increased track temperatures, and certainly with the increased wind, well, that's what's having an impact on the lap times.
You wonder, don't you, whether or not Chantra's got something up his sleeve. Maybe he's just going to try and pull something out in the last few laps, maybe, but
I think when he did, Steve, we saw him make 2 or 3 big mistakes very early on. I think he just sort of had a word with himself under his helmet and said, right, okay, it's a long race, 14 laps, let's just get settled in, let's bed in. We're not going to win the race now. Let's just see what these other guys have got, and just sort of composed himself. Quite clever riding, really, because I'm sure in an ideal scenario he would have wanted to have blitzed away at the front as he did in race 2 in Thailand. So yeah, he's just settled down into this lead group now of 6. There he is in 4th place, because Andy Izdihar has retaliated on this lap number 6. So Izdihar back inside the top 3, the man who got the whole shot.
Izdihar just had to sit up then to avoid running into the back of Ayagura. Ayagura's got a few nifty little tactics up his sleeve. I wouldn't say that they're all agreeable. He just seems to shut off the throttle mid-corner. He makes other riders sit up. A little bit naughty there from the young Japanese rider. further back behind the top 6. Kawasaki's in 7th ahead of Cooney, and it's Sugawara 9th, Ardian Sa in 10th. Niam Sakul is in 11th place ahead of the twins. Chan On-Chu and Denitz On-Chu is in 12th and 13th. And it's Khairuddin in 14th, and Utama at the moment taking up the final points as we head into turn 1.
What all these riders already know is that slipstream is going to be so important on the final lap, because Masaki was leading coming out of the final corner, and by the time they got to the finish line, it's a long drag out of that final corner to the finish line. It was Ayaguru that was back at the front. There he is, number 9, sweeping through this fast turn, number 3, the right-hander. Masaki still in 2nd, then it's Andy Izdihar. They fan out across the track for Brest. Izdihar has a look up the inside of Aguru, can't make it stick, but it's Masaki now back at the front.
One thing is for sure in this championship, because it's only 6 rounds, there's 2 races at each round, you can't afford to have too many more than maybe 2 or 3 crashes in the season. You have to really try and stay in the saddle. Number of times last year, riders that could have been in the championship threw it all away on a couple of occasions. So it is about getting himself mixed up and into the perfect place to try and challenge for the win, but you have to be sensible as well. So excellent racecraft being gained here from these youngsters in the Shell Advance Asia Talent Cup.
Yeah, you can see on that graphic there, Andy Izdihar has just ducked back into the high 213s. At 18, Somkiat Chantra, nice move up the inside of Ayaguru on the brakes. Aguru fights immediately straight back, so good battle now emerging at the front of this field. Still Masaki that leads the way. Can Aguru move up the inside? He can. Quite a lot of room there left for him by Masaki. Aguru said thank you very much, no second invitation needed.
Brilliant stuff there then. That was just left way too open, wasn't it, there,
yeah,
for Ayaguru. He said, no worries, thanks. Oh, a bit of a moment there. A couple of riders looking behind them. I never can understand that. Never, ever been able to understand that. What on earth do you gain?
Well, not when you know as well from your pit board. If you're reading your pit board, you're locked in an absolute dogfight with 6 other riders. It's dangerous in this kind of situation, in my opinion, to be looking over your shoulder.
I don't know if he's hoping that they're all just gone.
Yes.
Onto the start finish straight we go. They're all trying to get in each other's slipstream then in groups of 2. The top 6 go across the line, and they are separated by 0.3 of a second. Izdihar trying to float. Look at this. Yamanaka flying through on the slipstream, but it looks like it's going to be Ayaguru that holds on to his lead as they come around turn 1 and then into turn 2. Somkiat Chantra in 2nd. Number 23 is Izdihar in 3rd.
He got such a great slingshot there, did Yamanaka. He did well to pull it up on the brakes going into the first corner.
Now then, here we go down into turn 4, and Somkiat Chantra now takes the lead. A bit of a door left open for him, and he gobbles it up. The Thai rider moves forward. One of the more experienced riders, one of the taller riders as well from the group.
Yeah, so there are only 2 in this lead group that haven't hit the front so far. Is number 12, Yamanaka, and the man right at the back, number 4, Jerry Salim, who just seems pretty happy, Steve, to sit at the back of this group, keep himself out of trouble, see where the strengths and weaknesses are of those riders in front of him.
Well, he's got the popcorn out, front row seats at the moment, hasn't he?
Yeah.
And I think he's probably seen enough moves at the moment to think, well, there's statistics are telling me that not all of these are going to come around the final corner, because they really are beating each other up. They do not want to let, this is the thing, it's okay, some of the other riders leading this race, but Chantra is the danger. Every time he gets to the front, they need to remember that he has this capability of probably lapping half a second quicker than them. Ayaguru then it is in 2nd place. Izdihar now pumped back to 3rd. So Aguru's clearly decided, I'm not going to let him out of my sight. And Chantra maybe just trying something here. Is this plan B that's coming out for him? Plan A didn't quite work out, and like Matt said, rightly, just settled into the race. Now plan B, he gets out front. Will he try and break away?
Yeah, he might try and feel that he's got the pace now to stretch the field out a little bit. Jerry Salim lost a bit of touch actually with that lead group on that previous lap. come to the line then to complete lap number 8. 3 abreast across the line. It's Aguru with the personal best lap of the race so far for the number 9. He will get the lead into the first corner. It's Masaki back up the inside of Andy Izdihar. Chantra push back. There you go. The slipstream perfectly demonstrated there. Coming out the final corner, Chantra in the lead, and there he is now pushed back into 4th place.
Yeah, not working out very well for him on that occasion. Ayagura it is that leads him from Masaki and Izdihar. Chantra struggled there, and of course this one of the big problems that they've got by hugging the inside line next to pit lane is that it means they have to fan out again to try and get the perfect line into turn 1. Not really working out quite so well for Chantra on that occasion.
Yeah, what about Jerry Salim? We talked about him there at the back of this group, number 4. He dropped back into the 2:15s on that previous lap, so whether he's just burning up his tyres trying to stay with this lead group, because the top 4 is threatening to be 6, it's threatening to become 4 in the battle for this victory.
6 laps to go. We're seeing replays here of the top 6, and there's I love that 1 or 2 riders like stick with me, just stay behind me. I don't think that's really the idea of motorcycle racing.
Follow my lead is not the game, is it?
Very wide there from Ayagura. And that was probably the easiest overtaking manoeuvre that Kazuki Masaki will ever pull off in his entire career. But then he goes an unusual line there.
Yeah, Agura was able to cut it back really tight, wasn't he, and take the lead straight back. It was Masaki that was indicating, I think, to Agura, look, let's try and let's play this safe, let's play a tactical game, we can ride together here, maybe pull away, but that's not going to be the case.
You're right about Jerry Salim. It looks like he's just trying everything now just to stay with this group. The popcorn has been firmly put to one side now, and he's got to try and make a move.
But what Yamanaka and Salim needed is exactly what's happening, Steve. Agura, Izdihar, Chantra, Masaki having a bit of a carve up at the front, and it's bringing the 2, Yamanaka and Salim, right back into contention.
Onto the start-finish straight we go, and Salim at the back there, number 4, desperately needs some slipstream here to get a part of this. Now, across the line we go. You wouldn't want to put any money on who's going into turn 1 in first place. Andy Izdihar there, number 23, getting in the slipstream of Kazuki Masaki, but it's on the right-hand side here. Ayagura likes to leave it late to brake, but he's got no room. He's going to try around the outside, possibly. No, not quite. So it looks like Andy Izdihar, it is that has lost out a bit there, and it is Masaki that has the lead for now. And you're right, Matt, that has brought Jerry Salim back into contention again.
Yeah, Chantra again pushed back into 4th place. Salim on the previous lap had dropped into the 2:15s, but he was 1.5 seconds quicker on that previous lap to bring himself right back into contention. Kawasaki's just passed Kuni in that battle for 7th and 8th between the 2 Japanese riders. Sugawara, Niam and Sakal, they complete the top 10. 5 to go, Steve. Pretty hard to call this one. We haven't seen Yamanaka and Salim right in the battle at the front. Both of them seem quite content just to sit there behind that lead group before. When push comes to shove at the end of the race, be interested to see what they've got in their pocket.
It's perhaps no surprise to you that 5 of the top 6 here that you're looking at are the top 5 in the championship heading out of Thailand. The only exception is Andy Izdihar, who technically would have been had he not have crashed out in one of the races in Thailand. So these 6 riders here, I think, are going to be the 6 that you will see fighting for the Shell Advance Asia Talent Cup. So who's going to blink first here? It's going to be interesting. Number 2, it is that leads Kazuki Masaki, 15-year-old, 5th position in the championship after Thailand. None of these guys, none of the top 6 are really going to want to see Somkit Chantra or Ayagura pick up the spoils here, because they're already joint leaders of the championship.
Well, this is the biggest bit of daylight we've seen between the race leader and the man in 2nd place for some time, because as Masaki comes through the final corner, he was just over 0.3 of a second clear coming through the 3rd sector. Agura's been able to close it all up in the braking zone for the final corner. So we're coming up to complete lap number 10. It's Masaki that led coming out of the final corner. He was 4th in race 1 here 1 year ago. Missed out on the podium by the width of a front tyre, and Masaki and Agura picked up the pace on that previous lap, the pair of them putting in personal best laps of the race as Agura uses the slipstream again to hit the front at the first corner.
If any 2 riders are going to have to work together, it's Yamanaka and Salim here. They are constantly going past each other and losing sight of the top four, and they're chopping each other up themselves at the front. There is an opportunity here for these guys to get themselves in here, but they need to work together. Jerry Salim, number 4, and Yamanaka, number 12, we're talking about, in 5th and 6th place. At the moment, they've just bunched up to them. As soon as they get onto the start-finish straight, I don't know whether it's the exit onto the last, the home straight or not, they're just losing so much time.
Yeah, Aguru's in the lead at the moment, but I think if he knows from previous experience in this race that if he can come into that final corner in 2nd place, he's got the speed and he's certainly got the physical stature to use the slipstream to snatch the victory, which of course would be his 2nd of the season and would give him the outright lead in the championship. He's tied on 38 points with Somkiat Chantra there, the number 18, who's still in 4th place behind Andy Izdihar. Yamanaka and Salim just still there on the fringes of this top 6. Aguru still leading the way though.
20 riders still in this race. Just the one retirement so far. Tom Edwards, the Australian, was pumped off at the end of lap 1. The rest of them still in this race. So it is at the front, still changing around. Number 9, Ai Agura, joint leader of the championship with Somkit Chantra, that leads this race from Kazuki Masaki. In 3rd place, Somkit Chantra, then Andy Izdihar.
We just saw that again, Steve, as well. You know, a couple of guys that are immediately behind Ai Agura having to sit up quite quickly. You mentioned it a couple of times in this race. Chantra then has got back into 3rd place by Izdihar. Chantra on a bit of a wide line going through the final corner. He pulls it back tight to the apex, though. So here they come now. This lead group of 6 is Agura that leads the way. Let's see the slipstream that Izdihar can get from 4th place on the number 23. Touching elbows as they come over the line with Kazuki Masaki.
3 laps to go, and Jerry Salim this time did get some decent drive. He's gone from 6th up into 2nd place. What a move that was from Jerry Salim. In the first time he gets that great drive onto the straight, and look what happens. And
it was the first time, Steve, that he made sure that he was close enough coming out of the final corner to make sure that he could actually use the slipstream.
Brilliant stuff then. Jerry Salim now very much a part of this race. Ai Agura it is that leads, and Jerry Salim is wasting no time here. It's almost like a jockey that's holding back the horse and has now just decided, right, here we go.
He's up
3 laps to go.
Sorry, Steve, he's up the inside of Agura as well. So for the first time in this race, 3 to go, Jerry Salim has hit the front. He's come from 6th place at the end of lap number 11 to lead. Agura, though, retaliates immediately. Nice move up the inside on the brakes at turn number 3.
We'll just wait and see what tactics Ai Agura's got here. Number 9, whether he'll play a little game here with the number 4. Jerry Salim hasn't been at the front of this race as yet, so this is the first chance he'll have had to lead and battle with the leaders. He might not know what Ai Agura's got up his sleeve, but we'll bet to find out. Somkit Chantra there in 3rd place. The door was almost left open for Izdihar to come through. Yamanaka now the rider that needs to try and find something. Number 12 at the back of the pack.
Well, Yamanaka knows now that if he can get close enough to the back of that group in 6th place, use the slipstream, he can find himself in the podium places by the time he goes into the first corner to start lap number 13. Agura then leads. They've all bunched up now, this lead group of 6. They're covered now by just over 0.3 of a second. Salim has a look up the inside again, no room through there on Agura.
The only rider actually to have finished on the podium in both races in Thailand was Yamanaka at the back of the pack, number 12, 2nd and a 3rd. Both Chantra and Ai Agura finished 1st and 4th. So Yamanaka knows how to find his way to the rostrum. It's just a matter of whether he can do it here. Onto the start-finish straight we go. Yamanaka wasn't close enough there really to get any proper slipstream, was he? Oh no, I'll take that back. He is a part of it. Here we go then. This is going to be so close across the line in a couple of laps' time, Matt.
I think we might be needing a photo finish in a few moments' time.
Look at Yamanaka! Unbelievable! 6th to 1st! That is just a classic example here at Qatar.
Yeah, well, we saw Jerry Salim go from 6th to 2nd on the previous lap, and Yamanaka, as Steve just said, the only man in the field to have scored podium finishes in both rounds in Thailand. When he's hit the front now with 2 laps to go. Masaki also used the slipstream to move up inside that top 2, and Masaki has a look up the inside of Yamanaka. Masaki's got the inside line, so he should make the move stick. He does.
I don't think that there's going to be any sort of action here from the Japanese rider saying, "Oh, sit behind me" anymore. Now we are getting down to the juicy business. And Somkit Chantra, how miffed would he be, having been so quick throughout all the free practices, got pole by 7/10 if he wasn't to even get anywhere near the podium.
Yeah, he's dropped to the back of this lead group. Chantra there, he's on the number 18. Izdihar thought about looking up the inside of Jerry Salim, who was the leader just a few moments ago. Masaki is back at the front. His compatriot Yamanaka trying to score his first Shell Advance Asia Talent Cup victory.
Any one of these 6 riders could win this race, it's as clear as that, but there's 2 riders that, to me at the moment so far in the race, perhaps just look that little more dangerous, and that's Ayagura and number 2 Kazuki Masaki. They just seem to be able to use that slipstream a little better than the rest of the pack.
Masaki's opened up a pretty decent gap though on this penultimate lap. He's almost 0.4 of a second clear now of Yamanaka. There is Masaki, the race leader, on the number 2.
It would be a good time to break away here for Kazuki Masaki if he could. You can see the rest of the pack here desperate to get past Yamanaka. Yeah,
and Masaki had a really good long look over his left shoulder, Steve, going into that final corner just to see if he was going to get slipstream coming down this straight. This is all about thinking about tactics for the last lap. Masaki now is going to think, well, okay, I've got this much of an advantage. Will I get slipstream before the line? So Masaki clearly thinking ahead, and he's not been slipstream. So Kazuki Masaki knows if he has a similar gap coming onto the back straight, but he's been swallowed up though. Masaki actually just put in his personal best lap of the race with a 2:13.479. He led over the line, but he's been caught napping. Look at that now. Salim, Yamanaka and Aguru have dropped him back to 4.
Well, you just wouldn't have called that, would you, as they made their way onto the straight? Just never in a million years. And so that tactic didn't work.
He's got to do all the hard work all over again now.
We're on the last lap then of race 1 of the Shell Advance Asia Talent Cup. There's another one coming up tomorrow for these youngsters, but let's just concentrate on this for now. Any one of these guys can win. You could throw a blanket over all 6, but someone is going to be very happy, and there's going to be 3 riders very unhappy that won't make their way onto the podium. It is, at the moment, Salim that leads this one, who spent probably the vast majority of this race at the back of this pack. In second is Yamanaka, number 12, he spent the vast majority at the back of this pack, and Agura's in third.
Yeah, did Salim and Yamanaka just keep a bit more tyre life than the rest as they battled out at the front? So it's Salim then leading the way. Agura still looking very threatening in third place. We know how strong he is in the slipstream down that home straight. Masaki, though, lunged up the inside of Agura to take third place back. That's not what Ayaguru wanted to see.
One thing we can be sure of is that Samkit Chantra there, who's got his leg dangling off, will try and launch himself into this lot like a bowling ball if he has to try and get onto the podium. He will not be content with 6th place.
That might be Chantra's victory hopes gone. He's still at the back of this group. This is all going to be about the slipstream, Steve. Has Jerry Salim rolled the dice? He's gambled to lead coming on to this start-finish straight. We're coming into the penultimate corner now. It will be Salim through it, ahead of Yamanaka, ahead of Aguru, and then it's Masaki. It's all going to be about a horsepower drag down the line.
Oh, there's going to be someone that makes a last gasp move here as well, possibly. That's not the way to do it. Izdihar's really held up a few riders there. Now we make our way onto the straight. Oh, this is going to be photo finish stuff, Matt.
It certainly is. It's Salim with the advantage. Has he done enough there? Weaving and bombing all over the track. It's Masaki that moves out. Will Masaki take the victory? Aguru coming through as well. It's a photo finish, and it's Aguru, no Salim. Initially, the timing screen said it was a victory for Aguru, but Jerry Salim has been given it definitely a photo finish because the winning margin, just 0.08 of a second. What a finish to a brilliant opening round of the Shell Advance Asia Talent Cup here in Qatar.
0.04 of a second splitting the top 4 across the line. That will definitely be a photo finish. Like Matt says, at the moment they're saying it's gone to Jerry Salim, but we will just wait for that photo finish. None of them have got any idea at the moment. One of them is going to be very unhappy because they'll know that 4 of them went across the line pretty well. Izdihar, first of all, Chantra made a mistake on the last lap. That really cost him any chance of getting himself on the podium, and he'll be really disappointed after going so well in free practice and qualifying. Izdihar, I can't understand why any rider on these motorcycles would try for a last-ditch effort, really late braking into the last turn, when it's just going to completely hold back all of your momentum going onto the start-finish straight. Either way, it's cost him. He's not even in the top 4. So we'll wait for the photo finish. At the moment, it says Salim, Agura and Masaki, and Salim needed that. He was on 30 points. Let's see again. Salim is number 4. They're saying he's got the result.
Number 9, right in the middle of the pitch there, Ayagura. I think he must have thought he'd won that race because he's been so strong in the slipstream. That's as close a finish to a race as you will ever see.
I think they're probably right.
Yeah, Salim, you can just see his front wheel slightly over those black and white checks to signal the finishing line for Jerry Salim.
Jerry Salim finished 6th in the championship last year, very consistent, couple of podiums, but never picked up a race win. So this will be his first race win. Finished 2nd in the first race in Chang, came into this weekend 4th overall. He doesn't know.
I was going to say, that he's not celebrating, is he, like he's just taken his first victory? He's still got absolutely no idea.
The trouble is, he will have looked over to his right, seen the other guys, and he'll probably think, I'm probably in 3rd.
Yeah. Yeah, there's no way with the naked eye that he could have, with any certainty, said, yeah, I'm just taking my first victory in the Chalabans Asia Talent Cup here. But he did it in brilliant style. He was very, very patient. What I liked about Jerry Salim in that race was he was quite happy just to sit at the back of the group, let the other guys fight it out, jostle for position. And he got his tactics absolutely spot on because he was happy and brave enough to lead it coming out of the final corner, knowing full well that there was 5 riders using the slipstream behind him. It was a risky move, but it really did pay off.
Well, what a first race here in Qatar for the Shell Advance Asia Talent Cup. Jerry Salim, Indonesian rider, taking his first win in the championship. 0.08 of a second ahead of Ayagura. 0.18 of a second ahead of Kazuki Masaki in 3rd. And Yamanaka, poor Yamanaka, what about finishing 0.04 of a second behind the leader and not getting on the podium? Unbelievable. Further back there, you can see Sijiwara, Niem Sakan-Sakal finishing in 11th. The Onchu brothers, 12th and 13th. Khairuddin, 14th. And Bahatin Sofwoglu gets his first points.
Yeah, 20 finishers in that race. The only DNF for the Australian, Tom Edwards. He was a very early faller. Thankfully, he was uninjured. But we're about to see Jerry Salim filter back into the pit lane. And he'll be very, very happy when officials usher him to that number 1 spot in Parc Ferme.
Well, Masaki's just been given the bad news that he's in 3rd. So here comes... Now, let's see the celebrations. He doesn't... Oh, well, he's gone to the number 1 spot.
He might just still be in shock. Very calm and relaxed about it.
Just a thumb up. Well, after a race like that, I can tell you, I'd be running around with my shirt
exactly.
in the air.
Looks like he's just had a Sunday afternoon ride down to the shops, doesn't it?
Well, he certainly hasn't. But there you go, Annie. Well, let's break a smile at least. But either way, there we go. Alberto Puig there, congratulating him.
It looks like that was his 100th win, not his first, doesn't it? It looks like he's done this before.
Normal services resumed
exactly.
for me. Well, there you go. He has the Indonesian flag wrapped around him there, and maybe it will just sink in a bit more later on and he can be very happy with himself. It's certainly a close championship. Jerry Salim was only 8 points behind Somket Chantra coming into this race. The good thing is, of course, Matt, they all finished, so they've all got a big chunk of points, so the championship hopefully will sort of follow suit throughout the year. I mean, what a perfect position it would be if later on in the season when we go to Sepang, they're all maybe within 7 or 8 points of each other.
Yeah, well, this Lusail International Circuit in the Chalabans Asia Talent Cup, it always does throw up some pretty close and dramatic racing, courtesy of that slipstream. The first place cap goes on. Still doesn't look like it's sinking in just yet for Jerry Salim.
You can see
there
how
we go.
windy it is. Yeah, he's starting to come into. He's started to realise now, hasn't he? I think once he gets on that top step, it will become reality. Funnily enough, the happiest of the bunch actually looks to be Masaki in 3rd. He's absolutely over the moon to be back on the podium there. Certainly, I mean, how could you not enjoy racing? When you're a motorcycle racer, being involved in races like that, that's what it's all about.
Yeah, 0.3 of a second covering the top 6. And Jerry Salim, courtesy of that first ever victory in the Chalabans Asia Talent Cup.
That's a mistake. That is a mistake. Unfortunately, that's
the standing. That's the point standings from that race. Yep. So we'll try and get our maths heads on a little bit later on for you. But that was confirmation of 25 points for Jerry Salim's debut win. First points of the year for the likes of Warapad, Niam, Sakan, Sakal.
You didn't even have to attempt that, Matt, then. But with me and Matt, by the way, just in case you're wondering, number 21, Warapad, Niam, Sakan, Sakal, we were a little bit concerned when that name initially came in front of us. But
that's the reason why we've been sat in the hotel bar saying his name 1,000 times before we came to the track today.
So we're just so impressed with ourselves that we can't help
we're giving ourselves a pat on the back here, aren't we?
I imagine we're just waiting at the moment for confirmation of the updated championship standings. Unfortunately, we don't have any confirmation on our screens here, so I can't tell you. All I can tell you is whoever leads the championship is going to be very close between 4 or 5 riders. There will not be a lot in it.
Just shows how quickly things can change, though, Steve, doesn't it? Jerry Salim was 6 on the grid, qualified 1.5 seconds behind Tomcat Chantra, and he's won the race. And Chantra, who was looking unbeatable in qualifying, role reversal for him. He finished down in 6th place.
There aren't many riders that go to sleep on a Friday night 1.5 seconds off the pole position rider thinking, I'm going to have it tomorrow.
Exactly. Yeah, Tomcat Chantra, conversely, would be thinking, well, what, I'm almost 0.8 of a second quicker than the field. Another 25 points coming up today. Not so.
Indonesian flag flying high then in the centre of the picture, surrounded by 2 Japanese riders.
Yeah, of course, it's been a Japanese-dominated affair, hasn't it? The Shell Advanced Asia Talent Cup with Kaito Toba and Ayuma Sasaki, the 2 champions so far.
Brilliant race. Each and every one of these riders deserves a massive round of applause and respect. But we have a top 3 here for race 1 of the Shell Advance Asia Talent Cup. Race 1 here at Losail. Ladies and gentlemen, in 3rd place from Japan, it is Kazuki Masaki.
A 6th Shell Advance Asia Talent Cup podium for Kazuki Masaki.
But our race winner, ladies and gentlemen, from Indonesia, it is Jerry Salim.
Jerry Salim, then on the top step of the podium for the first time in the Shell Advance Asia Talent Cup by just 8 thousandths of a second. 3rd place trophy then to Masaki, the 15-year-old Japanese rider. On the podium here 1 year ago was Masaki.
Great trophies here as well that they give away. The Pearl, of course, in the Shell here in Qatar.
I just remember on Moto3 last year, Enea Bastianini dropped it.
Oh, yes, he did, didn't he? Yes. Having worked so hard from 21st on the grid, you pick up your trophy and smash it to pieces. Great win then from Andy Zhao. Now you can see the emotions starting to pour out.
So, ladies and gentlemen, show your appreciation once again. Our top 3, Kazuki Masaki, Agura, and
so, great win there for Jerry Salim, and that will certainly help him out in the championship overall. 2nd and 3rd there, Ayagura and Kazuki Masaki also keeping themselves in the hunt for that championship. Ayagura will be the championship leader, but just by how many points we'll work out the maths a little later on. We still have another race from the Shell Advance Asia Talent Cup to come tomorrow, so make sure you join myself and Matt for that one. Let's take a look back then at the highlights from race 1. Samkit Chantra on pole position by 0.7 of a second. Didn't get off the line perfectly, and Andy Izdihar, number 23 it was, that managed to get the whole shot down into turn 1 up ahead of Jerry Salim, who then was overtaken around the outside by Thai rider Samkit Chantra. Then we wondered whether the Thai rider would try and do what he did in Thailand a few weeks back and clear off out front. He got a decent lead, but this moment here, this mistake really cost him. It moved him back to 3rd place. And then he made another mistake, and from there, Somkit decided it would be best just to try and stay upright. Further back, the only retirement in the race, unfortunate for Tom Edwards, the Australian, who got wiped out, not his own fault, and these 6 riders then swapped positions all the way through the rest of the race. Each rider, at some point, taking a turn to lead the race. At this particular point you're looking at there, Yamanaka briefly had the lead, number 12, and Jerry Salim. Both of those riders left it late. Some good work from Jerry Salim, who really kept himself out of trouble for the vast majority of the race. Somkit Chantra there in 18th, number 18 at the background, but then into the final corner there, Izdihar really kissed goodbye to his chances. They then went on to the start-finish straight, and it was Jerry Salim that managed to get the race win. Thanks for joining us here for race 1. Don't forget to join us again for tomorrow.